Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void were prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void were prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void were prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
What Scott's done is awesome, and I can't tip my hat enough to him in terms of turning the program around to where it was, where it is. It's always exciting to be picked and to still be in the selection, still be a part of it. It's something that I always cherish and always loved, and it's a labor of love thing.
Welcome to US Rugby Happy Hour Live. Interviews with the biggest names in American rugby.
The New England Free Jacks, Major League Rugby champions. One-on-one to score.
Here are your hosts, Bill Baker and that other guy.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is US Rugby Happy Hour Live. I am Bill Baker. The other guy, John Fitzpatrick, is joining us shortly. He's a little preoccupied. This is the fun thing about doing live shows. You just never know what's going to happen. So we're going to talk about a couple of things before Fitzy joins in, before we get to our first guest. But tonight we do have San Diego Legion lock, former Glasgow Warrior, former Newcastle Falcon, former other players or teams as well. Greg Peterson joining us here in a couple minutes, and later in the show, Jazz Gray, up and rising star of the USA Sevens program, fresh off of the Hong Kong medaling for USA, and silver medal. That's great. So we'll have her on in about a half an hour. But for now, a couple quick news for our listeners. Big news came out last week. We're really excited about this for the show, for US Rugby Happy Hour Live. We signed on with a podcast network out of Europe, the Sports Social Podcast Network. They are Europe's biggest sports podcast network, and they're working their way into the American scene as well. We're really excited to join this team. Looking forward to them helping out with our show, get more listeners, and promoting the show as well, and maybe get us a couple bucks out of it. You never know. So we are so excited to be joining up with Sports Social Podcast Network. So check them out. They got a lot of great podcasts on there, some really good rugby podcasts as well. Sports Social Podcast Network. Also, news just came out recently, a little bit today. I missed it earlier, but I just read it again. There's been the announcement of a Women's Elite Pro League here in the United States, the first ever pro league for women. Player compensation, full-time staff for each team, and I believe it begins in 2025. I read that quickly. I had to read it really quick before we get on here. Check that out. Get online. Look for that news. It's really interesting, and I'm really excited about it for the women's program, for the USA Eagles, and for all the other women who don't make the USA program as well. It's a really big deal. Finally, speaking of women's rugby, USA faces Canada for the first time on home soil. USA hasn't played on home soil, the women's team, in years. They are facing Canada April 28th in LA. It is not official yet, but it looks like it will be a doubleheader with an MLR side with the RFCLA. It looks like against New England for that match. No confirmation yet on that, but so don't hold me against it. You can get the link on our website, eaglesoverseas.com, or in the newsletters as well. Or if you just get online and look for ticket sales, if you use the promo code Eagles Overseas or Rugby Morning, you'll get yourself 10% off your tickets. So especially those in California, no excuse. Get yourself some tickets, go to the match, and cheer on our USA Eagles against Canada. And lastly, if you are listening to us right now or listen to the podcast as well, follow us on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on our social media channels, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc., etc. Please do that. Like, follow, and subscribe, and share this with your friends and family and enemies. We don't care. Let's get people listening to this. Also, lastly, I lied. One last thing. If you're listening in today, live on the show, go ahead and leave some comments in Facebook, YouTube, whatever. And I'm going to see the chat. I'll see the comments pop up. We will try our best to get them on air for our guests or for myself. And like I said, John Fitzpatrick will be joining us shortly as well. With that said, let's get into it. Our first guest is waiting very patiently. This is his third time on the show, and I believe probably 3 different time zones we've had him on as well. So let's all welcome San Diego lock, Greg Peterson. Hey, Greg.
How are you guys? How are you, Bill?
I'm good. You can say guys. There's listeners and other people around here.
Yeah.
So how's it going? How's the town of San Diego treating you? I mean, it's not exactly Glasgow weather.
No, it's not. As you can see, it's blue skies and sunny outside. So it's been really nice here. It's obviously big old quick change going from Glasgow, then pretty much straight over to here, straight into preseason stuff. But by the time we had our 3 months in Glasgow, both Tess and I were looking forward to some sun and some heat too. So sand between our toes, but it's been really good so far. Really good. Kids been really enjoying it. You might hear them in the background, so I apologize, but it's been really good so far. Really accommodating.
So is it safe to assume she had you gave her a list of teams you can go and you choose?
There were definitely a couple of teams that with San Diego being at the top of the list, and pretty much it came down to just quality of life. We it's very much San Diego is very similar to where both Tess and I grew up in terms of like Sydney, Australia, and Coffs Harbour. So, very similar lifestyles. The other teams were really interesting and had great programs, and a couple of towns that I actually loved. But just in terms of the quality of life, I knew a bunch of players here that had kids the exact same age. We're living in the same pretty much apartment block as them. So, after training, they all come outside, they all rip into each other just like we did before that.
And I mentioned the Warriors a minute ago. Have you been keeping track? Obviously, they're doing well in URC, second place, right behind Leinster. Unfortunately, bowed out of the Champions Cup last week. Obviously, you've been watching the team?
Yes, I have. Yeah. They had a hard one on the weekend against the Quins. It's always tough. You get that many penalties in the first half to come back. They've always got the fighting spirit, and they've got the firepower to be able to get through it and stuff. And they're signing a lot of the good young players. So, it's always tough when you bow out of the championship, but I think they'll do really well in terms of the league now that they've only got focused on that. And, they got good young talent, depth stepping up too, which is just helping them phenomenally.
Is there a small part of you that wishes you were still involved in what they're doing right now? Nothing against San Diego.
Always, it's definitely like a hindsight thing. Like I would have loved to be able to go there and contribute more. I was pretty happy, knowing from the start that it was short term, and I think I played 9 out of the 10 games. So and I helped them, knowing that I left there and they're in a pretty good position, and that hopefully they just carry it on. If they do go all the way, then I'll be hitting Franco off for potentially a medal. But no, I really we really enjoy our time there. And, it's always bittersweet, but again, the family, the quality of life of the family has been absolutely unreal. And that's, to see your kids happy at the end of the day, that's sometimes better than a medal.
And we won't get into Newcastle season. You know how they're doing, and that's going to be tough on those guys. Real tough year for them. So let's pass that. I just wanted to mention that. Let's go over that. Shouldn't even brought that up, but let's go over that. So, before we get into MLR specifically, you were out for a bit, for a week or so, nicked up. Can you talk about that at all? Are you good?
Yeah, just tweaked my back. Nothing crazy. No. Just took a little bit longer than I thought, but then it's quicker than everyone else thought. So feeling good now, back to full training and stuff. Still got a couple more boxes to tick to be fit and selected for this weekend. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, feeling miles better. It was a bit of a crazy scene because, I mean, for a couple of days I almost couldn't walk, but it's all good now, so I can't complain.
Okay, and let's mix up MLR before we get to San Diego straight up. Let's go MLR and what your experiences overseas with Prem and URC. Have you noticed, people always ask, like, they want to know where MLR kind of ranks as far as the league goes. But other than the competitive side, is there many differences between the style of play, say, between MLR and Prem, URC, et cetera?
It's in terms of style of play, it's almost like picking and choosing. Like I could almost relate it back to the URC because you have so many different regions playing games different ways, and then teams within those regions playing different ways also. MLR is very similar to the URC. You've got Houston who are just going straight South African power game and doing really well at it. You've got Dallas who are just throw it around with a really strong wall, so really good foundations and really good basics, and they're just throwing it around rugby. Miami, who's pretty much like the full Argentinian style with a little bit of French jouet, etc. You're having to prepare for different opponents and different threats every single week, which makes it tough, but it's also good on the players. So yeah, in terms of learning week to week, it changes, and it's very similar to that. Like in terms of the way South Africa plays, like the Welsh teams play, the Irish teams, it's all completely different. You come up to new challenges each week.
And speaking of the injury, the back thing just happened recently. You're not old, but you're also not young. So what percentage of the week, and not just you, but many players, percentage of the week and what does it look like day to day as far as staying fit and healthy during the season?
Yeah, it's always been a big priority, especially as I've learned more about my body and what's good for it, what's bad for it, and what actually helps and what doesn't. Most of the week it's get in early, do a little bit of prehab, just manage the body, manage what's feeling good and what's poor. Try and stay off the physio table a fair bit. Like I pretty much haven't been on it until the past week. But the body feels good. It does take a lot of time to manage, and if something does spring up, like I've had a bunch of shoulder ops and stuff. So as I call it, if they get a little bit grumbly and stuff like that, then just uptick a little bit more on that maintenance, and same with other things. And I also know my body quite well in terms of if I'm feeling poor or sluggish in certain areas of the game, then I know like certain S&C conditioning stuff that I'll top up on, and not to overdo it too. So I think it was really good. Like while I was at Newcastle, because I was playing so much, I really had to learn and learn quite quickly in terms of what benefited and what didn't. And Gosh, I remember that Newcastle year. You and I talked back then also, and you were logging amazing minutes. I think I even asked you if they had a reserve lock on the bench because you were in there so often. But that's got to take a toll on you, all those. So you're right. You really have to be disciplined on everything from diet to fitness. Yeah, definitely. And it does take a toll. And kind of after that season, like there was some overhanging factors that made me push so hard that season also. Post-COVID, there was a couple of incentives that I needed to hit, and they're pretty outlandish incentives. And I also kind of sat there and said, like, oh, I want to do this as a personal challenge to myself. So I set that out, and I got it. I was absolutely stoked. But then also I sat at the end of the season and said, don't really want to do that again, because that was I put myself through a ringer, especially like that period of time. I think it was like December, November, January, where it was just game after game, week after week. And I kind of learned from that, like, right, I probably got to be a bit better in terms of maybe speaking to the coaches, but then also the next season I remember one of the coaches saying, like, yeah, we want to bring in a better rotation policy, this and that. And almost the same thing happened. The only thing that hindered me a little bit was a red card that gave me 2 weeks, and that was about it.
Yeah, that's right. Don't do that again.
No.
So going back to your decision to go to San Diego, we talked about a better, a good life for your family, obviously the kids, wife, and yourself. Let's talk more specifically about the team. San Diego seems to have a bunch of former players you played with, say Brocky, whoever else with the U.S. Eagles, and you're familiar with many others like No. What was the draw as far as the team goes? Coaching the players on the roster. What was that draw?
Well, I think besides the players on the roster, like one of the big things was that they said like they lost half their team. After that last final, they lost is essentially 50%. We've got, a new boy check-in where everyone partners with one of the other players and everyone talks about that. And it's literally half the team, which is, in any organization is absolutely insane. And when you come to a team sport that's closely, like, needs to be super closely knit, it has to be, that stuff takes time and it usually hinders that performance. But I think the boys that did stay were a pretty good backbone. They've carried that on really well. Like day one, culture was there, community was there, everything was there, and it was pretty much just buy in or beat it. And everyone that did come in was really excited to be there. Everyone, like, there was an excitement about it, but then there was obviously the overhanging thought of the daunting task that is ahead. Trying to go one better than they did last season. But yeah, in terms of the draw to come here, very much the players that were here, the facilities that they had, the coaching staff, Danny's great, Alex is great, working next to Isaac Ross also, I've really enjoyed it, and it's almost been not a player coaching role, but also in-depth, heavy communication with them in terms of what we need, what we don't need, lineup menu, etc. It's a bit of a change to what I've usually done in the past, where we've had extremely good coaches. Not that the coaches here are poor, but extremely good coaches that have done it for a long time, and they never dictated, but they did always create good plans and stuff. So I've enjoyed a little bit of change of trying to help with that too. But yeah, the main overarching thing was definitely just the quality of life for the family. Yeah.
And like you mentioned, a lot of new players, yourself included. Legion have gone quietly 4-1. And when I mean quietly, kind of under the radar as far as the excitement around Houston being undefeated, Dallas being competitive, really competitive this year. What is it with the team right now? Why are you, after that first loss, the bounce back, what is it with the team that's really turned it around and being one of the top teams in the league?
I'm not sure if there was ever a turnaround, we had 2 preseason games against Chicago and Utah and performed pretty average and stuff like that. And then went up to Seattle. We knew that was going to be a big test. And I think we in terms of that test, I think we ticked a lot of boxes. And, don't get me wrong, I would question that last minute or two without throwing mud at Pete at all. But I'll definitely question that last minute or two, especially I was a part of it. Yeah, I think we just want to go about it. We've got our goals. We know if we operate at our top end, that we can compete with anyone and potentially beat anyone. But it's just that the big factor for us is just it's us. And we found that like the postseason, like when they reviewed last season, what they came out with, and what was potentially the downfalls. And in terms of addressing that, it seems like a lot of the big question is the huge advantage was ourselves, and also the disadvantage was ourselves. So just trying to sharpen that up and be a little better in those areas. I think everyone's just wanting to improve and get better, and I think it maybe helps a little bit that part of the team has gone, because there's a little bit of new blood, the new identity, so those same potential downfalls aren't there also. So yeah.
And speaking of Seattle, San Diego is well known for a great crowd, great atmosphere. Seattle, New England, a couple other teams are just well known for that. Did you feel that at all in Seattle? Their fan interaction, their environment?
Yeah, definitely. Like, the field's really tight and close. You've got the stands super close. They're a very colorful crowd at times. But yeah, it's that's a good thing. Like what Seattle have done well is that they had the team there beforehand, the Seattle Saracens. I think you're even still operating now. There's shit ton of past Eagles that played for that club that when I started with the US played for that club, and I always saw like, shit, these guys are pretty bloody good. And I think when you build on something like that, it makes it a little bit easier. You've got that fan base there. You've got that what do the old men call it? That tribalism that's already there, already built in. And it's the same with every sport, every sport, every team that has that tribalism. You need that in America, because otherwise it just, unfortunately, might just fickle out. But Seattle have done very well with that. Legion had to grow that up, and they're doing a really good job in terms of fan engagement. The stadium in which they were playing in, there's a huge flag rugby community that they're building in here now too through Escondidos. Which is helping grow the game. You get the kids into it, and the kids are going to go to the parents, and the parents are going to go to the game. So it's always going to be a long runway, but I think it's building really well here. Yeah, really well.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
I understand this weekend's match, the first 1,000 fans will be giving a Legion beanie. So I expect, A, see you in a picture wearing one of them, and I expect to get 2 in the mail for myself and Fitzy. Anyway, speaking of your coaching staff, did I see, is Ryan Mattias joining the staff, or what is he up to?
Ryan's been doing a lot of the community stuff. So he's been really good with that, and almost at the forefront with that. But no, he hasn't been doing much coaching. I think in terms of like small skill set with some of the back three boys he might be helping out with. But he's very much he loves the game, and what he wants to do is grow it and get it out there to more people. So he's just getting, like, even then I was gonna had a chat with him today, and he was getting to 2 or 3 schools after I saw him, and he's hustling and he's doing a brilliant job with it. And hopefully that flag rugby just kicks off more and more, and it helps everything around in this area.
And you have a new teammate coming in May, I believe, Paddy Ryan, who you played with the Eagles. Did you cross paths with him at all when you were playing in Europe?
No, unfortunately not. No, I think he was maybe in the chat, but not to my knowledge. But yeah, he's an excellent player. They've done really well to get him. I was even speaking to him when he's coming over, and he's excited. He's had enough of the English weather. But yeah, he's an extremely handy player, as you saw in those summer tests. So it's going to be really good to have him, and also it's going to add to our back row depth, where it's already pretty good where it's at. But competition breeds excellence, so it'll be very good.
Of course, and switching coasts, Anthem Rugby, I don't think you guys have played them yet, or if you do this season, but
yeah, we do.
You're familiar with the team, you're familiar with why the team was set up with Scott and World Rugby and Alama. What's your impression of this team? I don't know if you really have any, maybe with Jake Turnbull, a few others you played with, but other than that, they're all pretty young. What's your impression about this team? I'm assuming you think it's a good idea as well.
Honestly, it's an unreal thing they've done. For them to be able to put this up so quickly with World Rugby's help and stuff, it's brilliant, because you look back to the Jaguars and how they were when they first joined the Super Rugby, and it's pretty much the same program and pathway. I think it's going to be absolutely brilliant for USA Rugby in the long run. Just getting people to play together, because you always see the teams that have academy players or young players come through together playing long times. Like it does great things. In terms of what they're doing there, I think their rugby's getting better and better. It's not, I don't think they're going to have a big fat donut at the end of the season. They're probably going to get 2 or 3 big scalps. It's going to be one of those games where if teams aren't switched on, they're gonna fold you. And it's right now, it's obviously they're just falling off towards the end of games, which is always tough to see, because you see them play so well for 50, 60 minutes, and it just falls off a little bit in the end. But that obviously comes with time together, experience, etc. But I know I spent a lot of time with Al in that summer tour, and a lot of time not just on the pitch, but like beside him, traveling, etc. I got to know him really well, and I know everything that he's going to do with them is going to be absolutely brilliant. And it's just a matter of time before they get one. It's a matter of time. And even talking to Jake a few times and stuff, he's really enjoying it too. So that's good.
Yeah, and they have a nice facility there, decent little crowd the first game. I think you're right. I think they're going to definitely get a win or two this year. They're scoring points.
Yeah.
They got some. I mean, David Still alone is just so fast, such a good athlete, and I forget the kid's name, but they got this monstrous lock who played football in Charlotte as well. But I don't know. I think he's been injured since the first game, but gigantic guy. I mean, you're a big guy. This guy is just. All right, let's dab a little bit with the Eagles more. Yeah, no. You're slumping over now. Is that what you're saying? So, back on the pitch, hopefully with the Eagles this summer. Romania, Scotland on home soil. Excited about that. July 5th, I think, is Romania, a week after your last regular season game against Seattle, I believe, again.
Yeah.
That's normal. That's been the way it's been before, right? Pretty much a week together, right? I mean, so this is no different, but now you have a lot more players playing full-time, coming off of playing, not sitting down for 3 months. So you got to be pumped to get back on the field with the boys.
Yeah, the culture that we've created in that Eagles team the past 6 months with Scott driving it, it's awesome. And to be a part of that and to help with that and help steer it, I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed the challenge of it too, because it's something completely new to me. But I think the experience that I've had under other players and a bunch of clubs, both winning and losing, I think it's really helped me refine my thoughts on leadership. And how I want to do things, but in terms of like the actual like leader group too, they're all brilliant players like myself, Nate, Butch, David. I knew when he's there, all these players like have their own huge wealth of knowledge, and it's made it really easy. And the thought of getting back together for those 2 test matches against, again, 2 big games, and then with the PNC also announced, it's super exciting. And the exciting thing is it's home matches. What's that? Yeah, hold on 1 second. I'm just gonna give you kiss. Come here, Sammy. Give me a little kiss. Kiss, bud. Kiss loose.
Remember those days?
Sorry. Yeah. I'm thankful that they still kiss me back, which is good.
Yeah.
It's super exciting to get back in that environment because there's so much growth in such a short period of time, and even though it will be straight into a test week scenario, which it definitely it has been the past couple of tours, and especially when I started up, it always was that way. But the thing that gives me a lot of, that I'm excited for is that when we played that Toulouse game in Salt Lake, the onboarding of everyone was super quick. There was no, we didn't have to take it 2 extra 3 sessions or do multiple walkthroughs in the car park at night and stuff like that. Everyone was right on it, and we got into training and everyone was flying, and just smoking each other too. So what Scott's done is awesome, and I can't tip my hat enough to him in terms of turning the program around to where it was and where it is. And it's always exciting. It's always exciting to be picked and to still be in the selection, still be a part of it. It's something that I always cherish and always loved, and it's a labor of love thing.
Now, wearing the USA jersey, you're all extremely proud to put that on, and you play as hard as you can for the team. For yourself and the team, but Scott seems to really introduce this what do you want to call it, this desire to have players, you, whoever else, die to wear the jersey. Let's say not die may be a little dramatic there, but wear it more with instead of just pride. I don't even know where I'm going with this. Instead of just pride, but desire or something like that, more maturity to wear the jersey. Am I coming across with that at all? It seemed like in the past, some players maybe weren't playing with maturity, but it seems like now this group is.
No, definitely. Like it's Scott's definitely changed in terms of the mindset. Like we brought in like this Eagle 365, which is being an Eagle every single day. It doesn't mean if you're in camp or in not, like or with your local team or wherever. You could be Don B-side back at college, like Eagle 365. That's how you hold yourself, and that's your standard. And that standard will rub off on other people too. So in terms of that, it's maybe not like, it's maybe just a higher respect for the jersey, and then how quickly it can also go too. You know, like we've had multiple ex-Eagles come in, speak to us, people that I've played with, and then come in and talk to their meaning. And, you know, even me, myself, being at the back end of it, I share it as much as I can, because I look back to a lot of those tours and, you know, all of them with absolute fondness. And also in terms of what it gave to me in my career, opening the door to Europe and letting me play over there, you know, I can't thank it enough. So I just do everything I can to put it in a better place each time I put it on, and be a part of the boys. So in terms of the organization and everything, and I want the organization to do well. Yeah.
And lastly, Greg, are you prepared to wear the captain's band again, or are you saying, please give it to AJ? That's too much responsibility.
I'm a servant. I've always been a servant. I've in terms of like chieftain and Indians, I've always played my game as being an Indian. Just knuckle down, do the work, do your job, and that's it. If I get the honor to do it again, then, you know, I'll wear it with pride, and hopefully I'll direct the boys around well. But yeah, man, if AJ wants it, he's someone that definitely deserves it too. He's done really well with his career, and in terms of his pride for the jersey too, you know, I'm not fussed. I'll happily be a servant to USA Rugby, and I'll put my hard helmet on and go to war any day.
Greg, man, thank you so much for talking again. Good luck with Legion. Great. I'm excited to see you playing again this summer with USA. Looking forward to talking again soon.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Bill. Take care.
See you, Greg. Great talking to him again. Like I said, he's been on the show a few times. World of wealth. You know, he's played in a bunch of different leagues, so it's good to talk to him about all that. He's got, again, good detail on Glasgow Warriors, who are doing well in the URC right now. Newcastle Falcons, who are not doing well in Premiership, and then a couple other French teams and others.
Hey, listener, we really appreciate you tuning in to the US Rugby Happy Hour Live. That was just the first half of the show. Be sure to check out the second half and previous shows here on your favorite podcast player. Also, please like, subscribe, or follow, and leave us a 5-star review. That helps get these shows in front of more and more listeners. Now, what are you waiting for? Go check out the other shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on chumbacasino.com. I looked over the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at chumbacasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's chumbacasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.